Alright, this is chapter 10 about arrays and array lists. Okay, your chapter 10 program, at least the current program, involves this stuff. So we're going to talk about what arrays are, we'll talk about some of the properties of them, how to work with them, searching, sorting. Also going to talk about different types like the selection sort. Talk a little bit about two-dimensional arrays. We're not going to do that much. And then we're going to talk about an array of objects, which is very handy. And then we're going to talk about array lists, which will come in handy as well. Your chapter 10 program, or whatever program I gave you there, you can actually start on it because I give you the array list configuration. You know, I give you the main method, which is a good portion of it. You can at least get all the files there and get started. So, all right. But we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff in this chapter. Okay, arrays. First of all, array is a way of carrying or storing multiple items under one name, which is kind of nice. It says a class stores a group of related data. That's very important. So if I have an array of integers, that's all it can store. It can't store integers and strings. Okay. An array is a limited version of this class. Is like a class array stores a group of related data, but it doesn't store methods. An array just stores the data. So unlike a class that can store data in methods, an array just stores the data. Okay? So there's another difference between an array and a class is that the array's data must all be of the same type. So I mentioned, they must all be the same. Okay? Here's an array of phone numbers. Each of the phone numbers would be an element in the array, and we access them via index, which we'll see here in a second. But I can have a phone list or phone number array, and inside it could be multiple phone numbers. Okay? Easy enough. Okay? Now, okay, so the class uses dot notation, arrays we don't. Okay, and we're going to see this. With arrays, we actually use the square bracket. Okay? Now, with our array called phone list, there's how many items in it?
In this one, 5.
Yeah, there's 5 in this one. And the way we reference them is 0 through 4. Okay? Other languages like Visual Basic allows you to actually change that where it would start with 1. This she doesn't. You know how like with char, we always start with 0 for the first character? Well, just like a string, an array starts at 0. So, index 0 would be the 816 number, index 1 would be the 202 number, and so on and so forth. Okay? So, 0 through 4 in this case would give us our array, which is still 5 elements. So, don't try to access the 5th element of this array. And the 5th element is actually number 4, but don't try to access index number 5 because there is none.
It's also a movie, too.
What?
It's also a movie, too.
Also what?
A movie, 5th element.
Oh, yes it is. Yes it is. That's true. Bruce Willis, maybe?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. All right, here's how we could change it. Now, if you notice before, the element 0 was the 816 number. We could actually say phone list square bracket 0. That means the first element in our phone list is now this new number. Okay? And we could print out the second element by print line, phone list with square brackets and a 1. Very simply. So first we're good? Okay, we really haven't done much yet. But all right, here's an example of a speed dial. Now, with the stuff that's different here is right around here. Okay, this part here. All right, this says, remember how before we've declared variables as strings and ints and floats and longs and all that stuff? Well, the only difference between declaring an array of longs and just a regular long is that with an array you put the square brackets. So we say long, then square brackets with nothing in them, then phone list. That says, declare me an array of longs called phone list. We haven't told it the size yet, but we're going to get there. Okay? Then here's getting input for how big he wants it. Then at the bottom he says phone list is equal to a new long. We did new cat. Remember when we did the cat program? We did new cat, new whatever. Here we just say new long, and in square brackets is the size of the array. Okay? Let me do an example of this. Let me find a program. Here I'll use my Hello World program. But all right. We're going to go in here and create an array real quick.
So you don't like import array or anything like that?
No.
You can just
Built into
It just, you don't have to import anything. So what if I want an array of integers? Okay. Okay, I can do that. And we'll just leave it. It's still yummy on there. So basically what that line of code did, well, right here it says declare me an array of integers and call it numbers. Okay? Now, on the same line, I can actually tell it equals new int. There you go. So now I have an array, declare me an array of integers called numbers that's equal to a new integer array that holds 5. So now we have 5. Okay, and I can access them very simply like this. I can say numbers, square bracket, 0 or 1, we'll just go with 1, equals 12. Now if I was to output, now let me do some output here. Let's output numbers, number 0. So what am I get when I output number 0? Anybody?
0 or null.
I get 0 because with new it automatically just sets it to the default value.
Oh, because it's an integer.
Right. So I got a 0. Now if I want to output 1, I should get a 12 because I set index 1, which is the second value, to 12. Easy enough. Okay. What if I try to access array element 5? The heck, it compiled perfectly.
Well, that syntax is fine.
Right, my syntax is good. Now I go to run it. Whoa, array index out of bounds. It says 5. Okay? So what that means on line 9 right here, there's a problem, and the array index out of bounds is 5. So if I go look at line 9, this happens to be line 9, this 5 is wrong. So I could change it to a 4. There's nothing in it, but I could. Okay. Now, a little difference between Java and some other languages like C++. C++, you can have an array of 5 and access element 250. No problem at all. What it does is integers are a certain size. Okay? So it knows when storing it in memory, you got one integer, then the next integer, and so on and so forth, all the way through memory. It just pretends it's going all the way up to 500, 250 of them, whatever. So you could access anything in memory. So Java, it doesn't do that. Alright, so there we go. So I kind of did what he did here. He just got input for the size of the array. Now once the array is defined in Java, you cannot change its size. I wrote a mailing list program for a client of mine years back. And I said, hey, how many names you can have in this mailing list program? He said, I don't know, it was like, a couple hundred, whatever. I think I ended up making this to handle 32,000. He ran over in no time. Basically, he got too much. So I had to redo the program because I did it with arrays. And with an array, you hard code the size. Like in my array there was hard coded to 5. So it didn't work great. So, all right, with an array, yeah, you have to hard code it. All right, here he goes. He's getting input for a phone number into the phone number list. Okay. Now here, let's see what he's doing here. Okay. He's actually, he got input for size of array right here, size of list. Then he made his new array phone list that size. So if I enter 8, it's going to be size of 8. Are you with me? On this next line, he says, so for 0 to size of list. So if I had entered 8, it would say I is equal to 0, I is less than 8. So it would be 0 through 7. Is that correct? That would give me my 8 elements. Then I could get input for a phone number. It's a long. Then I could say phone list I, which is the first one because we started with 0, will be equal to what I just got. Then I get a second phone number in. Then with our incrementer here, I would change it to 1. Then phone list 1 is equal to the next phone number, and so on and so forth, all the way through 8. Then he has the same thing. I'll put him on the screen this time. Now he's outputting I plus 1. What's he doing with that? Anybody? He's outputting I plus 1, and then a period and a space, and then the phone number.
Oh, he's setting the number, so it's like for, because I is 0.
I starts at 0. So he wants,
the first phone number.
so, right, when he wants to list it on his printout, can you imagine if you got a book and instead of starting at page 1, it started at page 0? You'd be like, what the heck? So, actually they do with table contents with I and stuff like that, but, so he didn't want the printout to say 0 dot and then the phone number. He wanted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that's all he did there.
But couldn't you just like declare array to 1, like instead of 0? Like
No, you can't tell in Java. You cannot say the array can start with 1. Now you can in other languages, not in Java. In Java, it starts with 0. Now, what he could have done, he could have started this up here with a 1, and just not even used element 0. It's kind of a waste. You know, he basically could have made it 8 elements, but started with 1, but then it would have only hold 7, because it'd be 1 through 7. So he's only getting 7 items. But he could have done that though. All right.
Then he wouldn't have had to do the I plus 1.
Right, wouldn't have to do the I plus 1. But you know, the big issue is now people are writing code that you have so much memory we don't care. Okay. Back then, can you think back to Apollo 13, Voyager, all those early stuff where they wrote in Fortran were very limited amount of memory. You needed to conserve memory. And if you use this where we started, even though the Java array starts at 0, we don't use it until number 1, we're wasting some space. It's like buying a 5-bedroom house when you need a 4-bedroom house. You're wasting some money.
Unless you want an office room.
Yeah, well, I took the dining room, converted to an office. So, all right. So array declarations. An array is variable. It has to be defined just like I showed you. Here we have integer, square brackets, IDS. So declare me an array of integers, call it IDS. An array of doubles, call it work hours. An array of strings, call it names. Easy enough. So we can have any kind of array. Just like in the example I did an array of integers, called it numbers. All right, array creation. There's a couple different ways to do it. Okay? So the Java arrays are object, we declare them with the new operator. So new, int, whatever, new, long, 10. Can we do it on one line? Yes, we can. I already showed you that in my example. We can do it on one line. He could have said long, square brackets, phone list equals new, long, 10 in square brackets. So that would have worked, just like in my example. Okay? Aha, there we go. It is legal to combine them as well. I kind of like doing it that way, but, either way it's fine. Okay, provide a single statement that declares, creates, and assigns a 100-element array that stores book titles. What do you think? Let's make one. A 100-element array that stores book titles. Okay? So, what kind of array would it be? A string. What are we going to call it? How about book titles?
Alright.
Or titles, yeah. How big is it going to be? Well, no. For 100 elements, I put in 100.
Oh,
But it's going to be, the index values are going to be 0 through 99.
So you need to change new into new string.
Oh, yep, good point. I can't. I'm messing up. New string. Then I could say, what's a good book? It. Stephen King. Anyone ever read that book? Kind of scary. And we'll put that one at index 4. Okay, let me try this. See if it actually works. Huh. Why isn't it working? Anyone know what the error is? There's an error on line 9. This line has an error.
Because you didn't do book titles, why is it numbers?
Ah, exactly. I forgot to rename it book titles. Very good. You will see something like that in about 3 weeks.
Oh,
You did great. You found it already. It was perfect. You solved it beautifully.
I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Could you have told me what line that was on? Yeah, you could have said, oh, that was on line 9. It should be called book titles. Would have been good. All right. You run it there and then It. Stephen King's It. Okay.
Here's a question. Can you
Okay.
do a print line of more than one array? Like inside the brackets, can you go 4-10? It'll list all.
No.
Okay. So you have to go 4, bracket 4, bracket.
But I can do 4 minus 1, and it'll print out number 3.
Right.
It'll do the math.
Right. Okay. So.
But no, I cannot say inside the brackets 4-10. I cannot do that. That'll be
you have
4
to go
minus 10.
bracket 4, bracket 5.
Yeah, I have
bracket
to do
6.
bracket 4, bracket 5, bracket 6. Yeah, exactly. I would have to do.
Comma in between each one.
Well, actually, if I wanted to do that, say I wanted to print out 3, 4, and 5, or 3 and 4. I could do 3, Then I would go plus, since this is, it's a string, it'll work. We'll put a space between them.
Yes. Book title 4.
Oh, so you would actually have to write out book
The whole thing.
Yep. Okay, and this book is The Hunger Games.
That's not a good book.
I really like it.
That's kids killing kids. So that movie's
It's a
about.
good movie.
It's about
You need to
kids
watch
killing
it.
Kids. I did go see it. I
That
went
is
to
it,
see
The Hunger Games. Hey, Avengers comes out this weekend.
Yes,
I'll probably go see that.
that looks pretty
Guess what I'm doing next week? It's all you can eat rib month.
good. The whole month.
Yeah, no, I
So
can't do
then
that every day.
If you were to put it on a separate line, it'd be slash.
Okay, let's put it on a separate line. So how would I put it on a separate line?
It was slash L.
How about slash n?
Slash N. That's right.
It Hunger Games. No problem. All right. So yes, I could do that. I could put multiple on the line, but no, I cannot just do a range. I can't say. No, I could do a loop and loop through them, but yeah. All right. So we did that one just fine. Array initialization. Okay. We can also initialize them when we are creating them. Let's go do that. All right. So I want an array of book titles here. Okay. But rather than saying, actually, make sure I'm getting that right. Yeah, all right. Rather than saying new whatever, I'm going to go in here and type in, what's another book we like?
Shiny.
Shining? Oh, here's another one.
Pet Cemetery.
Oh, you ever seen, the Shining, the Red Rum? I was on, you've seen The Shining, haven't you? Long time ago. But there was the girl on there goes, Red Rum. Well, I was on a cruise recently, and there was these twins, identical twins. They were freaky. They'd stand there and go, Red Rum. It's like, whoa, dude. That was too scary for me. All right, now, what I did there is I declared an array of strings called book titles. But rather than say it's equal to a new string array of whatever size, I just gave it some values. That's what I think.
You want to change book titles 3 and 4 to 0 and 1.
Well,
You want to just-
that's a good point. Yeah, because it is 0 and 1. I don't have 3 and 4 now. 0 and 1. There it is. So this automatically declared my array and automatically assigned the elements 0 and 1. And the size of it is based on the number of entries. So if I went up here and added a third book,
Pet Cemetery.
Pens and
Second one.
did I spell it wrong? Now, can I do this even though I'm not printing the third element?
Yeah.
Sure I can. Just won't print. I saw a poster, a fake poster today online. It was about remaking all the children's books in the movies. And they have the Hungry Hippo. Starts eating battleships and everything. He eats Alaska or something. It was hilarious. All right. So, yeah, we can do that very easily. So we're actually declaring and initializing all at the same time. Okay? It's kind of what it talks about here. When an array initializes, the size of the array equals the number of elements in the initialization list. So, could you actually make an array if you had to, something like that? Sure, you could. And it's on one of my tests. I don't remember which one. Okay. Note that the array initializer, you can create an object without using the new operator. We did not need new. We just did it. All right? Everybody okay on that? All right. Default values are not any different. So an array is an object. Array is elements or instance values of the array object. That way they get the default values, and they're 0, 0.0, false, and null. Okay? Nothing new there. Same exact values as the other ones. All right, there's also something called length. All right, let's look at length real quick. Okay? So if I over here did, so I'm going to put out book, titles, and we'll put a space. What's that going to print out, you think? it should print out. Now, is it going to print out 2 or 3? Remember, it's 0, 1, and 2. But how long is it? It's 3. So it's going to print out 3 because the length is actually 3, but the elements are 0, 1, and 2. It's kind of tricky there. Now, here's why I always screw up. You know how with strings, we have a length method where you can check the length of a string. It's length with 2 parentheses. In arrays, you don't put the parentheses. Okay? Because it's not a method. An array is just data. So, there's no method to it. Okay? So the length just returns the length of it. All right. And rather than on his other page where he made the loop go to the size of the array, actually let's modify ours that does something like that. I'm going to change all this. We're going to change this to count. I want to output my array. Say for int count equals 0. Count is less than book titles dot length count plus plus. All right, everybody with me? So I said start count at 0. As long as count is less than the length of book title, so if we start at 0 and the length of the book titles is 3, it's going to go 0, 1, and 2. And it's going to increment with each one right over here. And we're going to output the count. So let's see what we get. I don't need parentheses after count because it's not a method.
No,
The bracket things.
Which count?
like the closing and opening.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't put them in there. Do I need them?
I
I
don't know.
ran fine without them.
It didn't actually list the number.
Well, I didn't tell it to list the number. I told it to outprint
Oh, it's just printing the
book count, the book. Now, what if I want to print out the number? I can do that. I could say count plus space. So now what am I going to get? 0, 1, and 2. But again, if I want to have, if I want to look like 1 like he did in his example, I have to put the brackets around it and put a plus 1. Now, let's say we had another book. I'm going to add a book right here in the middle. What was the with monster trucks? Stephen King had the trucks.
The big semi with the goblin
Yes.
on the front of it. That was
The end of the movie?
man, that movie was so good.
Green Miles.
What was it?
No, not
No,
Green
that wasn't
Mile.
Green
Oh.
Miles, but I'm just saying put.
Oh, put Green Mile, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Green Mile?
I say I don't remember any monster
Oh,
trucks.
it was Green Mile.
He wrote the Green Mile.
Yeah, he did.
He did? He wrote Green Mile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
What was the name of that movie? That drove me nuts because I loved that movie.
I know, it was scary.
I
Ugh.
was not supposed to watch it, and I watched it.
Uh-oh. All right, so now I added another title. It's all I did. And look, it automatically prints out all 4 now. Because we're using the array.length to make my length go all the way to the end. So I try never to hard code values, because you never know, I might add another couple titles in there. Now if I had, instead of books.length here, if I put the number 3, I wouldn't have got the last book.
Almost your whole part, you would have to.
Right. That's why if you go with the length, it'll go through the entire array. Alright. So there's an example. It says, the length is a string method. We know that, and it's also an array property. With string method for strings, you need the parentheses. For an array, you don't. Okay? It says mnemonic, acronym to help you remember this. ANSI, array no, string yes. Okay, I can never remember that. I'll forget it tomorrow. But here's the way I remember it. If I put it there and it doesn't work, take it off. If I leave it off, it doesn't work, put it there. Like here, let's try that. I can't remember if I need it or not. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put it right there. Oh, doesn't like it. Okay, let's take it off. Ah, much better. I think that's an easy way to remember it. If it don't work, put them there. If it doesn't work, take them off. Alright, let's continue on. Okay. Now, it could use the length for partially filled arrays as well. Okay? Again, what he's doing here is he's filling a portion of it. until you equal Q. Maybe I gotta. You ever buy a phone book that has 100 pages? You have to put 100 names in it or numbers in it? No, you go until you're done. So here they're going to keep getting numbers or getting names, whatever they're getting, numbers, until you enter Q. So he creates an array up here that has 100 items in it. Okay, 100 elements. So it actually doesn't have 100 yet. It just has the ability to hold. He just made a phone book that can hold 100. Okay, and it says enter the phone number or Q to quit. Gets input for the phone number, and while the phone number equals ignore case is not Q, so in other words, while it's not the letter Q, and the number of filled elements is less than the phone list.length, because I don't want to go above that because it would cause an error. So as long as I didn't enter a Q, as long as the number of elements I filled is less than 100, okay, then it checks if the length is less than 1 or greater than 16. Okay, why are they doing that? The phone number length. Oh, they're checking the length of the phone number. That's why. Okay. Yeah, they're checking because they got the phone number right here. So they're checking the length of the phone number. If it's less than 1 or greater than 16, it's invalid. So you can't have a bogus phone number. Okay. Right. So he gets it, and if it's good, then he adds it in there. So the phone list filled elements started at 0. So now we put the phone number into it, then increment it. So the next one will go into 1, then 2, then 3, and so on and so forth. Then he outputs, hey, please enter another phone number, or enter Q. Then he has a loop there to output it. So how could he have done this differently? What if he wanted to output all of them, rather than just the ones that have data in it? Because right here it's only going to output the ones that have data. What if I want to output the entire phone list?
Can I just do 100?
Okay, but I don't want to hard code 100 in there. How could I do it?
Value of.
How about phone list.length? Because that's how big the whole array is anyway. So we could have replaced filled elements with phone list.length. Now would have added the whole thing. Now, again, if I only put in 10, there's going to be 90 blank spots. But, you know, at least I'll output it. So, all right. Let's continue. Okay, partially filled array is when you use some of an array but not all of it. Makes sense? If you take a partially filled array, you need to keep track of the number of elements in there so you can process the filled elements directly. Here's a program that does that. Yeah, it's not really anything special, but in his example, filled elements, just how many we put in it. Actually, let's look at that one more time. See, filled elements here starts at 0, right up here. Okay? And as long as filled elements is less than the length of it, we're good. Then when he adds one, he increments it. So we're keeping track of how many's in there. That's all he's doing with it, okay? All right, now let's look at this second one. Or was that the second one? That was the second one. Okay, good. All right, we did look at it then. All right, good. Copy an array. Says, as with all objects and associated reference variables, you assign one array to another. Both array objects point to the same. Are you really copying it? So in this code here, say array 1 has something in it. Okay? Say array 1's full of names or numbers or something. Then if we say array 2 is equal to array 1, what actually happens?
It mimics the data that's in there, puts it data to, or slot to it.
Well, remember when we talked about objects, how really it's really pointing to where it is in memory? So really array 1, since arrays are actually objects, array 1 really doesn't store anything. Array 1 really just points to where the array is. So say that was location 5200 or something. So then array 2 is now equal to 5200. So array 2 now points to the same array as array 1. So what happens if I change data in array 2? Also changes in array 1. Okay, let me see if I can't show you an answer here. Some kind of a Excel demonstration of this. I just thought of this. Let's see if it works. Let's put car here. Okay, see if I can't make it bigger. All right, so I got a cell with the word car in it. Okay, that's cell E4. So over here I'm going to say equals E4. Oh, sorry, D4. It's D. Equals D4. Okay. Now down here I say equals D4 because I'll make this one big now. Okay. So do you agree now that we have two things that point to the same cell? Because this says equals D4 up there. I know it's hard to see. And this one says equals D4. So basically, so if I change this to say, actually, you know, just like his example, we'll say, well, this is going to be array 1. That's array 1. It's going to be array 2. Let me remove that for a second. This will be just like his example then. Okay. So array 1 has car in it, but does it really have car in it? No, it really has the address D4. So it's really pointing to whatever's in D4. Then, just like the example in the slides right here, when he says array 2 is equal to array 1, so array 2, go back, equals, what am I typing? Get out of there. Stop. Okay, there we go. Equals B3. So that's what we're saying. Array 2 is equal to B array 1. Is that right? So they both say car, which is good. So, you know, but really when it's happening, the value there, the D4 is actually in there. So if we change this to truck, they both turn to trucks. And if you also want to do it with, if you actually took that data from array 1 and put that data in here, same thing will work. They both can, oh, it didn't save. Come on. Okay, so now they both have D4 in it. They're both pointing over here to D4. If I change this to bike, they both get bike. So really I'm changing all of them. Okay. I don't know an easy way to show you that. But, all right. So it says usually when you make a copy of an array, you want to copy everything. Okay? Basically the whole darn thing. Okay? You want to copy the array elements one at a time. It says, for example, suppose use arrays to hold the store's prices, one array for each month's prices, and you like to copy January's price array into February's price array and make changes to February's second price. Program on the next slide does this. So what we want to do is we have two arrays, one for January, one for February. We want to copy all the prices from January into the prices for February. Make sense? That's really what happens if you ever done inventory. The next month is always a copy of what you had last month, and you just add or subtract from it. Okay? So let's see how he does it. Okay, he has a class up here called array copy. In January, he puts some data in. So up at the top, he's initializing the array automatically with the values 1.29, 9.99, and so on and so forth. Okay? In February, is a new array. How big is it? It's a double, but how many elements are in the array? 6, because it's being initialized to the length of January. Which makes sense. Don't recreate the wheel. If you want it the same size as January, then initialize it to the length of January. So price is February. The length of it is price is January's length. Okay? Now, so he has a loop that goes for the length of price is January, starting in 0. So he's going to go through 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because there's 6 elements. Okay? And he's saying February's price for index 0 is equal to January's price index 0. So what happens to February? What becomes index 0? 1.29? Make sense? Okay? So February's index 0 becomes 1.29. Then we increment to 1. Then January's 1 goes into February's 1. So what does February's 1 become? 9.99. So we're going through the entire array. And then we change, after our loop, after we've done the whole loop, we change February's price to 10.99. So we just up the price of something, like it's happening all the time now. Are we okay with that?
So you can modify it later. Can you pick your length? Can you just do like 3 instead of all 6?
You could. Say you only want to take the first 3 elements. Sure, you definitely could.
Okay, so you do price January dot length.
Minus 3, or you could have just put a 3 there. If you only want to do the 3, you could have actually changed this right here. You could have said I is less than 3. You could have done whatever you want to. Yes, definitely. Definitely. All right, then he's outputting using printf, which some of you hopefully know how to do. he's got a loop. He's just outputting January price and February price. So, okay, and he's basically building that right there. That's what he built. Easy enough? All right, histograms. Okay, histogram is a graph that displays quantities for a set of categories. Indicates quantities with the bars. Okay, shorter bars are for smaller quantities. Larger bars are for larger quantities. Okay, easy enough? Okay. Here's a next slide shows you the quantities of frozen desserts produced in the United States in 2003. Wow. Millions of gallons of regular ice cream. That's like 55 million gallons. I had frozen yogurt the other day from Brahms. I had the chocolate peanut butter. Oh, it's so good. Bad for you because it's still ice cream. But it's a little bit better than ice cream because yogurt's a little bit healthier. But that would be a histogram. Okay? Y'all understand what a histogram is now? Could we write one in Java? Sure we could. Okay, does he write it in here? No, he doesn't. Yes, he does. Okay. Okay, problem description. Suppose you have 3 coins. When you flip all 3, you're curious of how likely is you'll get 0 heads. How likely is it you'll get 0 heads? How likely is it you'll get 1 head? And so on and so forth. Okay? It says write a program that simulates throwing 3 coins 1,000,000 times. Wow, that's going to suck. Okay? For each of the 4 cases, 0 heads and 1s print a histogram. So let's look at what he come up with. Okay? So, wait, what were the times again? Darn it. Okay, you like to get how many? Oh, you're throwing 3 coins, is that right? Mm-hmm. 3 coins, okay. So how do you get 0 with 3 coins? Oh, each head occurred. Oh, okay. Each time heads occurred. So, in other words, for the first one, both of them landed on tails. For the bottom one, both of them landed on heads. Does that look about right? They're about equal. So if I flipped 3 coins 1,000,000 times, how many times will they both land on heads or both land on tails? They should be equal, shouldn't they?
You keep saying both, but you're talking about 3 coins.
Okay, 3. I'm sorry, 3.
Okay.
Sorry, 3 coins. Sorry about that. Okay. So, isn't it the odds of them all landing on tails or all landing on heads should be about the same, which is true. Okay. Now, what does the 1 and 2 keep track of? You'll get 1 head. Oh, 1 heads, 2 heads, 3 heads. Okay. But basically, it just makes a histogram. Okay. It's nothing special. It's just a way you can use Java to do something. You're just using an arrays. He's using what's called a frequency array. Okay. It's just an array called frequency, basically. So you keep track of it. Every time it gets thrown, it increments the frequency. Okay. Let's look at what this program does. Okay. Actually, let me copy this out, and we'll run it. Slide 25. That'll be a little bit easier to understand. I want all this right there. Okay, I'm going to get rid of my books. Put in my frequency array. And then I'm going to get the rest of it. Alright, let me run this. Let's see what it does. Alright, so the first time it's 125, 147, 124, 950. So it is changing. It is correct. Everybody see that? Alright, let's look what his code does. Alright, he's got 3 coins. And he wants 1,000,000 flips. What if I want just 10 flips? Let's see what that one does.
But this looks really similar to our next program.
What?
This looks really similar to our next program.
No, it's
Mice.
no cats and mice. It's different. It's different.
It's not. I mean, it's calculating each time.
Yeah, but it's just who wins. I mean, the cat wins or the mice wins. It's really
But
different.
you don't use this.
No, you can't use
I
this.
didn't write it yet.
No, you can't use this. All right, so whatever 0 is, we got 0 this time. You all agree? Whatever 1 is, let's see. We got a couple. We got probably one of those. We got whatever we got 2 and then 7. So, you know, is that right though? I mean, let's run it again. That looks a little more even. That's not very even. Problem is we're not flipping it enough. Let's go with 100 times. But you notice how the number of bars, we still only have the same number of asterisks. We have 100 asterisks total. So it's basically a percentage. Wow, 0 and 1 or 0 and 3 are really different. Ah, that's closer that time. Alright, let's put it back to a million. Okay, that's closer. Well, that's about 300 off. But alright. So he has 1,000,000 repetitions. Alright, he's making an array of integers right here. An integer array called frequency. He's keeping track of heads. Then he wants fractions of reps. Some float. Okay, we're going to look at a number of asterisks. So we're going to have to keep track of this stuff, okay? So, frequency equals new int, so we're making an array. Now, it says number of coins plus 1. Okay? Number of coins is what? Number of coins is 3. So, how many is our array going to hold? It's going to hold 4. It's going to be number of coins plus 1. So, it'll be 4. So, we have our frequency array is going to hold 4 items. Okay? Could he have done that up on this same line here?
Yeah.
Yes, he could have. Okay. And starting at 0, going less than number of reps, so it's going to go 0 to 999,999. It's like an increment. It says perform a group of flips. Heads equals to 0 initially. So this is the loop inside of a loop. Okay? So heads equals 0. Now, inside here, sorry, I was on my chest. He's making another loop that goes from 0 to number of coins. And there's 3 coins. So he's going to go from 0, 1, 2. So he's for all 3 coins, the number of heads is equal to the number of heads plus this. What is all this?
That's a kind of, I guess it's not truly a random number, but it's a computerized.
Right, it's a computerized random number. But since we have the times 2, means it's going to be between up to 2. Actually, let's look at that. Let me show you that. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to go up to the very top of our program right here. I'm just going to stick that in there for a second. There's a reason I'm showing you this, because you do need to do something like this. Okay. There it is. We got 0. 0. What? 0. 1. There's a 1. So let's take off the times 2. Let's see what happens. Okay? Remember oh, I still got integer. Oh, hold on. Now you'll see what random returns. Random returns a random number. That was 0.625, 0.986, so on and so forth. You see that? See that random number at the top? Alright. Now if I go in here and I tell it random number times 2, so I get 1.9, I got 0.7, I got 0.112, 0.77, 0.77 again, 0.25, 0.75, 1.56. So what am I getting? What is this times 2 doing for me?
It's multiplying the random number by 2.
Right, it's multiplying the random number times 2. So what are my possible values now? Since I'm making it into now when I make it into an integer over here, remember this had integer on here a second ago? So when I make it into an integer, what does it do? What does int in parentheses do? That's typecasting.
It makes it whole numbers.
So if I got 0.77, I would get a what?
1. That would be 0.
A 0. If I got 1.15, I get a 1. If I had 1.999, I still get a 1. So integer truncates it. So what's happening is now is my random part is generating a random number between 0 and 1. And I'm multiplying that times 2. So now I'm getting between 0 and 2, basically. And then, actually between 0 and 1 still, but then I'm truncating it. So when I run this, so I get a 0. Then I got a 1. So I'm either going to get a 0 or a 1. Y'all see that? Can't get anything else. What if I wanted 4? Could I change that? 0, 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay. So do you agree I have 4 numbers now? 0, 1, 2, or 3? Okay. So now if I took off the int so you could actually see what it was doing, and I think I already showed you all this, but you can actually make an inline comment. I'll also skip just that part. So I got 0.5288, 2.28, 0.021, 1.9, 1.5, 3.4. So, yeah. So that's how you can very easily get however many random numbers you need. But for this class, I mean for this project here, we're flipping a coin, so obviously we only need 2. So we know now that this is going to either return a 0 or a 1. Okay? And since we're adding it to heads, obviously if it's a 0, what are we going to be adding? If it's a 0, we're not going to be adding anything. Because it's going to be heads plus 0. So this says heads is equal to heads plus all this stuff. So if all that stuff on the right returns a 0, I'm not adding anything that time. So in other words, I didn't get a head. But if it was a 1, I'm going to increment it. So that's how I'm keeping track of the heads. Okay? So
if it's a 1, it's technically heads. Is that what it's trying to
well,
say?
actually the way he's doing it is 0 is like heads and a 1 is tails.
That's what I'm saying. 1 would be heads.
Yes, yes. All right, okay. Then we update the appropriate bin. Okay? So he goes through each of the coins. So he's going through from 0 to 2. So he's going through all 3 coins and flipping them and figuring out how many heads he got that time. So say I flipped all 3 coins and I got 3 heads. Heads is now equal to 3. So now he updates the frequency. Now, which one is this? He's updating heads. Now, so this is 3. So this is 3. It means it's going to actually update value 3. In other words, 3 heads were rolled that time is what he was saying. He flipped them and I got 3 heads. So the plus plus means update the appropriate bin or the appropriate entry keeping track of the 3 heads. Are you okay with that? Or 2 heads or 1 head or no heads.
So it's not really doing an increment of heads, it's actually taking the value of what you rolled.
Remember,
adding it to that.
the frequency array itself holds 4 items. Okay? 0, 1, 2, and 3. 4 items. So what he's doing is, remember, if he gets 0 heads, he's updating position 0. That means position 0 got 0, or, I mean, got a, basically increments position 0. Okay. Then if he got 1 head, he's updating position 1. If he got 2 heads, he's updating position 2. If he got 3 heads, he's updating position 3. So that's how he's keeping track of it. Okay? Then he's outputting the number of times each head occurred. Let's see where that is. That's this part up here, the number of times each head occurred. Alright. So he's got another loop here. For heads equals 0, heads is less than the number of coins, so it's going to start at 0, go to 3, 0 to 3. Then he's going to output heads. So because an output 0, that means the number of times 0 was rolled. Now let's look at that again. So basically, number of times each head occurred. So 0 times was that many. 1 head was that, 2 heads was that, 3 heads was that. So we're more likely to get 1 or 2 heads than anything else. Is that right? Why is that?
Average probability, I guess.
Yeah, it's got that bell curve thing. I'm not a statistician, by the way, at all. So he's doing that, plus he's then outputting the frequency of heads. So what part is this right here? The part I got highlighted, frequency heads. So what number is that? Or what part is that?
That'd be the number of times.
Like the 1, 2, 5, 3, 1, 2, and the 3, 7, 4. That's exactly what it is. So it's outputting these numbers right here. Okay? Then it says fractions of reps equals float frequency of heads. In other words, that number. So that number, that 125074, divided by 1,000,000. In other words, we're trying to figure out the fraction of them. Okay? Is it 50% of the time, 25% of the time? So if we had, let me run that again. So if we had 125 125522 divided by the 1 million. So, what's that? That's not even a quarter. That's what, eighth? Is that right?
Nate.
It's an eighth of the time. So, an eighth of the time, we got 0 heads. Is that about right? Yeah, if I got an eighth there and an eighth there, it's a quarter. Then obviously is another quarter. Yes, that's right. It's 100. It's the whole amount. But all right, so he's figuring out the frequency or the fraction of the repetitions. So he's getting that number, that 0.125. Okay. All right. Now here's the little bit trickier part. Now the number of asterisks we want to print on the screen is that number, so that 0.125 times 100. So what's 0.125 times 100? Let's see. 125 times 100. I'm making it hard. So I should get 12.5 asterisks. Okay? Now I'm doing math.round. So I'm going to get 12 asterisks. Let's run and see if we get 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It worked perfectly. So what we did here is we took the number of repetitions at 0.125 times 100, got to 12.5, or 125. No, 12.5, sorry. We rounded it to 12. That's the number of asterisks. And then we just have a little loop here to print out from 0 to the number of asterisks. So 0 through 12. So print out the number of asterisks on the screen. What do you think? Kind of handy dandy? Okay. All right. Nice little program he's got there. All right. So what is he doing on this one? Did I get it all? Okay. After each simulation, I had 1 to the appropriate bin. We talked about that already. Okay. First group of files is... What's he doing with that? First group of flips, it was 0 and 1. 0, 1, 2. Oh, well, whatever. Okay. Oh. Whatever. Okay. Is this a... Oh, this is the other part of the program. Okay. Yeah, this program we already walked through. Okay. Yeah. All right. Everybody okay on at least one use of an array? All right. I'm going to call it quits there for tonight and pick this up next time on slide 30. No, 28. I'm sorry, 28. Okay.